In India, we have a strange culture. Whenever someone in our family says, "Hey, I want to go and study abroad," all of us just get very happy. And I think, isn't it strange? Because if someone has to leave their country to get something as basic as education, is that even a good thing to aspire for? Honestly, I don't think so. Every year, there are over 7 lakh Indian students who go abroad to study. The majority of our students go to US, Canada, Australia, and even UK. And all of us think that if they are going there, their life would be hyper successful. But honestly, that's not the reality.
I believe that the largest number of foreign students in Germany are now from India.
Over 7.6 lakh Indian students studied abroad in 2024.
It's getting harder to get student visas for the US.
You don't want to have the pressure, the strain of visa and lottery of H1B.
The reality is very different. The problem is that the entire social media asks you to believe in something very different. Every day, you see people putting out fancy vacation snaps, exotic food pictures, and stories of how they are living the best life outside India by studying in some great colleges and earning some enormous amount of packages. But that is not even close to the reality. The reality is that some of those friends are probably equally as frustrated as you are in your career. And if you don't believe me, just stay with me in this video. But firstly, let's try to understand why do people even go and study abroad. See, honestly, our education system is extremely polarizing. On one hand, you have great colleges like IITs, IIMs, and whatnot. On the other hand, there are tier 2, tier 3 colleges. Now, if you are able to make it into IITs and IIMs, I mean, you are the top 1% of the crowd in India. But what about the rest of the people? They go to these colleges where the difference is stark. An engineering student from tier 2 and tier 3 colleges spends entire 4 years just figuring out why I am in this college. Because most of these colleges are extremely shabby, not just in terms of infrastructure, but also in terms of how they function. Most of them have extremely strict attendance culture. And honestly, what the students get out of that attendance culture is absolutely bizarre and nothing to understand. Most of these faculties became faculty members not because they wanted to, but because they didn't have any other options in life. Even in college, there are barely any extracurriculars, barely any guest lecturers, barely any industry exposure sessions. So it is like you just get into a college, but you are only responsible for your own success. And you cannot expect anything from that college. And on the other hand, even a tier 2 college abroad is considered better than many colleges in India. At least they will get that industry exposure because the education system in foreign countries is fundamentally more developed and advanced than ours. For instance, in many Western countries, students are often compelled to participate in at least 20 to 25 hours per week of extracurricular activities, internships, or real-world industry exposure sessions. In comparison, even in the best case scenario, Indian colleges rarely offer more than 2 to 5 hours projects, internships that are actually relevant and the students can get anything out of them. So for someone in a tier 2 or tier 3 Indian college, studying abroad presents a much higher chance to gain practical experience and get into a global network and secure an amazing solid career foundation. But let's say, if you are in the West and you are in a tier 2 college, your peer group will be much more developed in general. Because the culture there is to just start working from college itself so that you get better practical exposure. But then the question is, why do people who even crack Indian tier 1 colleges like IITs, IIITs, why do they go abroad? And the reason is because even the tier 1 colleges are no longer safe. With the kind of situations we are living in, the placements are going really bad. In recent years, IITs and IIMs have seen a drop in their placement rates, with reports from IIT Bombay indicating that the placement rate dropped from 95% in 2018 to just 87% in 2022. Even in IIMs, the number of companies participating in campus recruitment has declined significantly, leading to uncertainty among students. Now think about it. You have dreamt all your childhood, and not just you, your family, your extended family, your friends, and who not. All of them dreamt that you would be the first person in your entire home to actually go into these colleges. And when you actually end up in these colleges after such days and nights of hard work, you realize, okay, I'm not even getting placed even here. So then what should people do? And they have no option but to see these stats and say, hey, it's better if I go abroad. And then there are better chances that if I am talented enough, I will have a better future somewhere else in the world, but not in India. So there was this case study where a student cracked a prestigious IIT in the country, but instead of choosing the placements, the student ended up choosing MIT over staying in India, seeking better opportunities and a stronger global network. The student believed that MIT offered more exposure, better resources, and opportunities to work on cutting-edge projects and companies which would secure his or her future in the ways that the current system in India could not guarantee. But just the bad education system in the country isn't the only reason. There's another big reason that is unfortunately very prominent in India, which is, for the first time when I went to the US, I was shocked. You know why? Because I was on the streets and no one was honking their horns in a bizarre manner. People were following traffic signals as if it was in their DNA. I was there and I felt that the sky had some filter applied on it because it was so clear. And then that night I thought, how easily have we normalized these things in India, right? We know that if we are on the streets, we cannot even cross the road peacefully because no matter how much you follow the zebra crossing, a bike might come and rush towards you. No matter what's there, you know that the traffic signals will be broken and we are just not used to seeing clear skies in India, especially not in Delhi. And do you think a student who's just starting his life, who wants to build a good career, wants to live a good life, and is talented enough, do you think he would really want to be here? Honestly not. And I agree that the infrastructure in India is improving, but it's not as close as the Western countries as of now. And that is a big reason why people shift abroad for a better quality of life. And while there are a lot of more reasons, I would genuinely like to just talk about one last reason, which is the scope of education. I know someone who's pursuing a degree in ocean engineering. And when I first heard about it, I was like, is this even real? All that we see in our life is to talk about CA, engineering, BTech, MTech, and whatnot. And even if you are like the most exposed person, you might just know liberal arts at the most. What else? The world has evolved so much. AI is here. And if you really ask, how many colleges in India have really started their degrees, certifications, or even diplomas on AI? We are that behind also in terms of evolving with the education. So there are a lot of students who have a very distinct culture and they want to have that kind of career. And honestly, they don't know how to do that in India. So when they see a Western university exactly offering what they want, and not just only as a curriculum, but with mentors, faculty who will actually guide them, you tell me, why wouldn't they choose to go out of India? Of course they would. And hence a lot of people go. But honestly, here comes the twist. That while all these reasons that I just told you would look like very valid reasons to go abroad, the reality after going abroad is not the same. When you actually go abroad, you find that, hey, while a few things are definitely better here, there are hundreds of things that you were never told, but you now face them. The biggest of all the problems is actually the visa problem. Every year, thousands of students face visa rejections, delays, and complicated processes that leave them uncertain about their own future. On top of that, many countries have a very limited post-graduation work visa policy, and getting a job after graduation can be a huge, daunting challenge. For example, in the US, the H-1B work visa application process is highly competitive, and many qualified students still face an uncertain future after their studies. In September 2025, the Trump administration introduced a significant change to the H-1B visa program, a one-time $100,000 fee for new H-1B visa applications. This fee applies to all new petitions submitted after September 21, 2025. And that has raised concerns among international students and tech companies. The US Chamber of Commerce has filed a lawsuit against this regulation, arguing that it imposes an unnecessary financial burden on businesses and violates existing immigration laws. Additionally, the Trump administration has proposed changes to the H-1B visa selection process, aiming to prioritize higher skilled and better paid workers over the current randomized lottery system. This move has sparked debates about its potential impact on the diversity and inclusivity of the US workforce. These visa challenges are one of the key reasons why students often face constant uncertainty about their own future, even after investing so much time, energy, and money into their education abroad. And then comes another very real problem which almost no one talks about. See, there's a huge number of students who don't go abroad because they genuinely want to study or because they have a clear plan. They just go because everyone around them is going. And that's where the entire study abroad consultant industry makes its money. Many of these consultants sell dreams. They show glossy brochures, big university names, and promise that you will easily get a job after this degree. But when the students actually land there, they realize that the college they took admission in was nothing like what was promised. A lot of these universities are private institutions with poor faculty and zero global recognition. Some are even listed as low tier or unaccredited in international education databases. According to reports by Indian education boards and a lot of other surveys, more than 35% of Indian students abroad admit that their college was not worth the money they spent. Many of them end up with the degrees that have little or no industry value, which means that after investing lakhs and even taking loans, they find themselves unemployable or stuck in low-paying jobs. And that's the harsh truth. No one tells you this while you are applying, but by the time you realize the truth, it's already too late. You have already spent a fortune and now you have to somehow justify it, not only to you, even to your parents. So what started as a dream for better future turns into a trap of debt, regret, and helplessness, all because someone sold you a university as if it was a product. But the issues don't stop there. Another major problem is the financial stress that comes with studying abroad. Many students end up taking out massive loans just to pay for their education. This financial burden leads to significant stress, not only to the students but also to their parents. According to a recent survey, over 30% of international students report feeling stressed about their financial situation during their studies. This stress often manifests in sleepless nights, worrying about how to make ends meet, and the constant pressure of having to balance work and study just to cover their expenses. Some students even end up taking part-time jobs that affect their academics and social life, all while trying to make sure they can repay the loans once they graduate. These jobs are often limited to 20 hours per week during term time, and the pay may not be sufficient to cover all the expenses. And this leaves students with a difficult choice. Should they focus on academics and risk financial problems, or overwork themselves to keep up with both the academic and financial demands? And this situation leads to long-term mental health challenges such as anxiety and depression, which leads to the next big problem. Now you might think, okay, what loneliness? Because even if you go to a college in India, of course you would find new people and make friendships. So I mean, it's the same thing there also, right? Actually no, there's a difference. When you go to a new college in India, you still find people from the same nationality. Your DNA is the same, your fundamentals are the same, your ethnicity is the same, and it matters a lot. But when you go abroad, you're not the same. You have to prove yourself. You have to be someone. You have to prove your identity. And honestly, a lot of students actually fail to do it. Research indicates that loneliness is more prevalent among international students than domestic students. In UK, 59% of the students often feel lonely. And in the Netherlands, 70% of the international students struggle with loneliness. This sense of isolation can lead to increased feelings of depression, social anxiety, and academic distress among international students. And then finally comes the post-graduation reality, something that most students never plan for. When you are in India, you feel that once you finish your degree abroad, jobs will automatically come your way. But the truth is, That's where the real struggle begins. Once the degree is over, the grace period of your visa starts ticking. You're now racing against time, applying for jobs, attending interviews, trying to get sponsorships, and hoping your employer will file for your visa extension. But the hard truth is, not everyone gets it. In the countries like US, only about 25 to 30% of international graduates manage to convert their student status into a work visa. The rest either go for another expensive degree just to stay longer, or they return to India, often with no real savings and a massive student loan to repay. And even if you do get a job, the cost of living abroad is so high that savings are almost impossible in the first few years. Many students then realize that the glamorous life they imagined turns into a routine of survival, paying rent, clearing EMIs, and managing long working hours in a completely different culture. That's when the reality hits. You left your country for a better life, but what you often end up with is a more expensive life, not a necessarily better one. So what fundamentally is the point? The point is that everything has its own pros and cons. You just have to weigh your pros, weigh your cons, and then decide what's good for you. People make careers in India. People make careers abroad. People fail in India. People fail abroad as well. We have Priya Nair in India. We have Sundar Pichai in US. Because the reality is that careers are built because of you, by you. And if you are curious and capable enough, you can do it anywhere in the world.